After a long day of breaking the law and acting in the most indefensible ways possible, of course, we would expect Donald Trump's stooges to come and defend his actions. And that is exactly what we saw, and we saw it from the worst of them in Stephen Miller, who was called out and really ripped to shreds for his defense of the law breaking happening under the Trump administration in an interview where he just started screaming at the host, attacking her personally, and really just losing it on camera. We are going to cover it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now we're going to check out what Stephen Miller had to say, a bunch of lies that he's going to tell. I want to break some of them down and, of course, offer an alternative perspective.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the President the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the President is exercising his Article II powers to defend the country against an invasion, or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country, he's exercising his core Article II powers as Commander-in-Chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a Commander-in-Chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question.
Well, no,
if you could answer my
words,
question first,
in other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer yours and you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign
state
government.
or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be, yes, it is documented that TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy? The President and the President alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then think we are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me and you're not understanding me. Read the statute, Alien Enemies Act, 1798. It says if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government, so it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No, wrong. Look up the statute. It's on my account on social media.
That's actually where we found it earlier.
Yes, it says or a predatory incursion or an invasion. The statute delineates three criteria for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war, which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all three statutory criteria. But with respect to this particular statute, it's the proclamation is utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute.
So,
but this is a very
picture,
important question,
Stephen.
because no, hold on. It's a very important question. You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country, and that's subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said that, Stephen. I did not say.
That has never been true.
This was not a military operation.
A district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil that he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not? Like, does the Supreme Court of the United States have any say over the things that you were just outlining right here?
I believe what the Supreme Court will say is what I just said, which is that the president's conduct here is not subject to judicial review.
Okay, but you are acknowledging that they do, in fact, have a say here, even though you think they may agree with you.
What we are expecting is the Supreme Court to say what has always been the case, which is when the president is using his powers as commander-in-chief, those determinations are not subject to judicial review. In other words, the president's designation of Trinidad as a foreign terrorist organization and as an alien enemy are part of his inherent plenary authority. There is no way.
At what point in the system, Stephen,
how are you going to expel? Hold on. How are you going to expel illegal alien invaders from our country who are raping little girls, who are murdering little girls, if each and every deportation has to be adjudicated in a district court judge? That means you have no country. It means you have no sovereignty. It means you have no future. It is fundamentally incompatible to have a country and have individual expulsions adjudicated by a single district court judge.
I'm just trying to figure out at what point in the system do you, because what does the Trump administration believe? Because we do have separation of powers in this country. I hear what you're saying.
Yes,
you're saying
separation
the
of powers.
This is the judiciary
interfering
Stephen,
in the executive function. That is the separation of powers. That is the separation of powers.
Did you ignore the judge's order here because you thought you could?
So the judge's order and the actions taken by the Departments of Defense, Justice, and Homeland Security are not in conflict. And the Department of Justice has been clear that they are not in conflict. But
so you think that you did go along with the order that the judge put out? You do not think that the Trump administration defied this order?
As the Justice Department said, there is no conflict between the judge's order and the actions taken by the departments I just listed. But I'm making a deeper and more fundamental point.
Yeah.
The district court
if you don't
has
have
no
to follow
ability.
it, why didn't you?
The district court has no ability to in any way restrain the president's authorities under the Alien Enemies Act or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had engaged in intensive diplomacy to obtain a bilateral security agreement with the nation of El Salvador. If a district court judge can enjoin that bilateral security agreement, then we do not have a democracy.
Stephen, you've made your argument.
We do not have a foreign policy.
We've heard you say this. Did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order from the district judge? It's a simple question.
I've answered.
So this is usually not the case on CNN, but I do think the host actually offered some pretty good pushback. But to further this argument, to further this explanation of what's going on, I think it's important that we talk about this in kind of the broader landscape of what Donald Trump wants to achieve. He's trying to push forward this idea that his actions are extreme in order to protect people rather than extreme in order to put more power in the executive branch. Donald Trump wants to defy the courts, not because he thinks he's keeping Americans safe. If he was actually doing that, he wouldn't let 1,500 violent cop-beating insurrectionists who have already committed more crimes out of prison. Donald Trump wants to take an issue that has public support and frame the conversation around it rather than make it about his lawlessness. That's why you see them saying Democrats are trying to let violent criminals go free and they want to stop Donald Trump, but we're not going to listen to him. We're going to keep shipping them out. When actually the reality of what Donald Trump wants to do is what he already did. Not listen to a judge's order saying, no, you cannot just deport people based on your racial profiling them without judge or jury, without listening to the law, without due process, which Donald Trump will then carry out with whoever he wants. This is not about Venezuelans. This is not about immigrants. This is about Donald Trump being able to put into custody and ship away any person in America he would like. You are next. Ultimately is always the case with Donald Trump. You think he's just going after press he doesn't like? No, it's the entirety of the free press. You think that he's just going after individual political enemies? No, he's going after everyone. You think he's only trying to enrich himself? No, of course, he's going to try to enrich every billionaire in America and screw you personally in doing so. There is always a next step to Donald Trump's plan. It's what we have to call out. And I think someone who did a good job of kind of pointing all of this out was Jessica Charlov right here.
Case.
Funny you should mention that. No, there is good reason that everybody is saying alleged members and suspected members, because these people, as Dana said, have not gotten their due process. And there's an immigration attorney who has been posting about her client who was supposed to show up in court on Thursday, has been disappeared since then, is allegedly on this plane, and this person
What was he
is here.
supposed to show up in court for?
What he had a legitimate asylum claim. He had tattoos.
Legitimate asylum. It's not legitimate until a judge says it's legitimate.
But if you make it so that that person can't see a judge, then you're denying them their due process.
I don't know if I buy
What
it.
Trump is essentially saying is that the asylum system, as we know it, is done. That you can show up here and you're fleeing from persecution in Venezuela, for instance, and you don't get your day in court. So if that's what it is moving forward, then just say that. Be honest.
But you know the asylum system has been gamed.
Sure,
it is completely exploited by criminals.
Most don't even show up, and most don't get approval.
You can throw whatever you want at the wall. I'm still going to finish what I'm saying.
That's just facts.
No, but it isn't facts.
We should build a wall.
They're illegal. They don't belong here in the first place if they weren't invited.
Then just be honest and say it's not about getting criminals out. It's about getting everyone out who is here illegally. That we can pick up anyone. And that's not Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar. Obviously, they're not getting
You do
deported.
the worst first. That's what we're doing.
But why is this person?
See, one person.
No, but this is the first flight.
This is an incredibly scary time that we are in, and we have to be battling back against this. I am worried that too many Democrats will feel that this is an unpopular argument to make. They will shy away from it when they think that this is a discussion around the issue of immigration. It is not. First of all, Donald Trump's immigration plan, thank God, is failing. But this is not a question of immigration. Just like the unlawful detainment of Mahmoud Khalil was not about protest on my campus at Columbia. It was about suppressing free speech and acting unlawfully in doing so in order to intimidate anyone who will oppose Donald Trump. You can feel however you want to feel about any given issue, but on the basis of the law that Donald Trump is violating, it is crystal clear. This is an effort to broadly assault the judiciary and put as much power as possible in Donald Trump's hands. It is a fight that we cannot be scared of. We have to go forward and make sure our message lands. And it's what we're going to do on this show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.